Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Come on, y'all. It's Thankful Thursday. Y'all know how I get down. Come on in the room. We're gonna get this joint started. And I'm excited for you guys to be here. Y'all already know. I'm sure you saw all my flyers. I'm sure you saw all my stories. I'm sure you saw all my posts and even me going on about it. I'm so excited about how Men's Mental Health Month has been going. So I don't expect today to be any less amazing. What my guest is awesome, and he's another therapist, and I am super stoked that we got these brains on with me, and they're super cool and down to earth, and so I just think it's going to be an amazing show, and I'm excited for us to go. So y'all come on in. I'm making sure that I'm actually sharing it to my other page. And like I told y'all, we're gonna do a whole share thing. I used to be so scared to ask y'all to share these lives. No longer, because I know people need to hear this stuff. And so the more people that can hear it, the better off somebody can be. So yeah, I'm gonna ask. It's no shame in my game. As I'm sharing, can you share? Share it on your page. Share it to somebody's inbox. Share it, text somebody, let them know this conversation they need to be on. Tag them. You can put their name in here, tag them on here. They need to hear it. Get them on. It's going to be a great conversation, and I want y'all to engage. So come on in the room. Hey, Mom, how you doing? And I'm going to bring my guests is already here. I'm gonna just bring them in a second, but I definitely wanted to make sure that I'm getting y'all in this room. Okay. So while we waiting for everybody to come on in, I want to make sure that y'all having a good day. How was was it productive? Was it peaceful? Did anybody get on your nerve? And if so, did you brush it off yet? Did you take a walk? Did you work out? Did you do something to kind of pull it off, the stress off? I hope so. I'm hoping if you didn't, then maybe you can decompress on here, because this is going to be a good conversation. All right. So I know people are starting to come in. I'm going to just make sure that I'm going to make sure that I feel like I'm sharing with everybody. Okay, so I can see the comments. All right. So I think we're going to get started, because my thing is, if you come in, come on in. If you're not here yet, that's all right. So if you have been following me at all lately, you know that I have been doing the Men's Mental Health Month. And what is that about? That's been about the issues I talk about, the topics I talk about are all about mental health. And it's not a taboo subject. But what I do is I make sure that I think that there are conversations for everybody, everyday life, in every aspect: financial, emotional, mental, physical, all that stuff. But, I got some men to tell me that I was talking about women's stuff. And so even though I don't believe that's true, I wanted to make sure that I did have specific topics, and maybe a whole month where, we kind of pulled men in so they feel like, hey, this is something they can talk about as well. And so I got some men to talk about it with me. And so far, I've had two wonderful men that came on. The first one was Jared Washington, and the second one was Ernest Benson, and they were awesome. We had amazing conversations. And his name is Justin, and I know we're going to have no less of a great conversation. And so let me bring him on. I'm going to introduce him. Hold on. He's already sitting there. Hey, Justin.
Hey, everybody. Get my camera situated. There we go.
Yeah. Come on. Justin is also, and I'm pulling up his bio. I had this all together here, guys. He's also a licensed practicing counselor, and he's been in the mental health industry in different segments, and working. And he has a passion for helping people, helping families, helping all men women, individuals, even through individual counseling, group counseling. He just wants to help, and he has a passion for getting people healthy, and having them to talk about these things. And so he's licensed out of Georgia, but I just, even talking to him the brief time we talked, I know he had a plethora of knowledge and information, and just a really great way of sharing it. So I'm introducing, this is Justin. Am I saying it right? DeBose?
DeBose. That's
DeBose.
okay. You'd be surprised.
I get it right. DeBose, Justin DeBose. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on. I appreciate you.
No problem. I'm glad to be here. Hello, Tracy. I saw that you said hello to me in the comments.
Yeah. So listen, we're gonna dive right in. I know people are gonna trickle in. So in the meantime, between time, let me give you. I'm gonna just throw a question out here for you. Our biggest thing that we want to do in this live or on this live I talk about is about breaking the stigma of mental health, and how it's something that is for certain people or crazy people.
Mm-hmm.
And we already know what that's like, especially in the Black community. But then let's talk about what it looks like for men. And maybe I'll just, as a segue into our actual topic, like, what are some of the things that you believe we can do to make sure that we are breaking that stigma for men, particularly?
Ooh, okay. That is a loaded question. Paris, the stigma that's surrounding men is one that primarily exists where they say that if a man starts to talk about his emotions just in general, a lot of times, hey baby, how you doing?
I had to do that.
Like, please do. please do. That was my wife. The stigma for men is already in society where if a man opens up about his emotions, a lot of times he's worried about appearing emotional, weak, even sometimes people will say feminine.
Yes.
The stigma for a man getting into therapy is, let's say, take that previous stigma I talked about, and let's go ahead and double that or triple that. So if he's not only just opening up casually, but now he's opening up particularly about emotional issues, then for a lot of men, it's in the back of their minds that no one can know about any of this. Because if I put this out there, if people know this, there's a possibility that I could be looked at a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of times they just don't want to deal with that sort of demonization, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, that's good. I know that that's a loaded question. I just like to have a little icebreaker, just a little bit, throw it out there so we can get it out, just fishing out. And everything you said is so right. I don't think it's one answer, but it's just like you said, just penetrating the layers there, right? Making sure that we get through all of those walls. I mean, these are walls, well built up walls, some of them that have been built for 20 and 40 years, and understanding that deconstructing those walls is not a one-day thing, it's not a 1 minute thing, but it does take one decision, right? And so when we start talking about these things, we open it up. So let's get into our topic. Y'all know how I get. I like to get a little bit, I like to pull in punches, right? So today our topic is, can I talk? And I'm talking in the, the tense of a man. And if I do, would you listen? Now you're probably wondering, Paris, why would you say that, right? Because I know I have a lot of women that watch me, but I have men that watch me too. But this is about why men are not opening up, and I want to talk to the guys here. But I want to give y'all a voice, a little bit, a voice that maybe that you haven't always had, and a voice that we're not always honest about. What we contribute to that voice not being there, right? And so how often is it that we say, yeah, men need to open up. They need to stop this toxic masculinity. They need to stop being oppressive. They need to not close down to me. When I want to talk to them, they got to open up and talk to me. They have to do this. They have to do that. And we want them to do that. But what happens when we put ourselves in the men's shoes and we talk about what it's like starting as early as 3 and 4 and 5, up until they're 60 and 70, depending on who they're conversing with. And what us as women, I'm sorry, y'all, including mothers, sisters, spouses, daughters, women teachers. Come on, we're gonna go there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Women authority figures and society as a whole. What have we done to contribute to the muting of the men? And I am here presenting this conversation. I'm gonna be on the woman's side, but I'm also gonna be fair, right? So, but I'm really here to talk to the men, and we talk about this issue about men. So, Justin, I'm gonna ping pong that to you. Let's talk about that, right? We always want men to talk. We want to say, man, open up, talk about this stuff, get healthy, let's do these things. But did we create environments, and what do we do? You know, what is that like as a man? Like, you're a man. Let's talk about what you have heard men talk about from a young age for, you know, why they don't feel like they can share.
Ooh, all right, let's get straight into it then, huh? First off, I love how you worded the topic, because the topic has part of the problem in it. Nothing wrong with how you worded it, but a part of that issue is in the last 3 words of your topic. A lot of times people struggle with feeling that if I decide to open up, if I decide to talk, once we even get permission to talk, would you listen? And this question could be posed to both men and women. I definitely will keep it equal across the board. Yeah. If I as a man decide to bring something out, if I decide to open up about something that I'm currently dealing with, would you be able to hear it? Would you be able to listen? And would you be receptive? And to even elaborate on that, would you understand? Right? Because it's one thing to hear a man, it's one thing to hear a man say he's going through something. It's another thing to understand it, right? Yeah. Because in the event that a man finally does bring something out, then how is it perceived? Because if he brings it out and maybe it's been bothering him for a while and his voice starts to raise, then the focal point becomes, well, you presented it wrong. And because it's being presented wrong, it's gone. Right. Come on. And then, I mean, there's so many different ways in which a man, and just a disclaimer, this occurs definitely for women as well. But just in this topic tonight, we're talking about men, so I'm just addressing it from the male's perspective. Oh,
but, you can listen. You don't have to be politically correct. Women, talk about y'all tonight. We talking about men, so don't. Come on, y'all. You already know I'm gonna keep it all the way real. So don't sit here, please. Women, disclaimer: do not get defensive today.
Yeah, please don't.
We need them to be able to talk about it. Y'all want them to talk. You want your husbands, your brothers, your sons. You want your male co-workers. You want the men out here that's out here doing the bad things. We want them to emote and talk. So the one thing we cannot do is put a guard up and be defensive. And well, they don't listen either. Let's hear them for once. Let them talk and listen. I'll call out the crap too. Let me tell you, I'll do that. But let them get it out. Sometimes we so want to, rebound before or dispute it before we even let them get it all the way out. So don't worry, you don't have to get that disclaimer here.
Okay, just look, hey, I'm a product of that society too. Just gotta put it out there.
Yes.
But sometimes the focal point becomes we have to walk this line of exactly how we have to bring everything forward. That if we venture outside of that line and our tone and the words used, if we don't have this picture perfect way to present it, then the entire point is lost. And after it's lost so many times, you get this wave of men that just shut down. And one of the biggest things that you see a lot of men do is they resort to anger. And anger, if for those that don't know, anger is just a way of trying to physically regain control of a situation that you feel like you've lost control of.
That's good.
So
can you say that again? Anger is a way of what?
Anger is just a physical way to regain control of a situation that you have lost control of.
That's the first time I've heard it like that. That's good. Okay.
And so what ends up happening is when that frustration comes in because maybe they're misunderstood, they can't get out what they really want to get out, then it just resorts to anger. And at that point, the topic is definitely lost. Definitely.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I want to let you get it all out, but let me tell you, I love this so far. You put a really good point in there, and it's not just men to deal with this, of course, but I see it all the time. I hear people say, well, it's not what you said, it's how you said it to me. It's not what you said. And although that's true, if you shut somebody down and they're saying all right stuff, but you don't like how they present it, you keep doing that, they will stop talking to you.
They will stop talking. They 100%. They will stop talking.
Because they will now think that you don't value what they're saying. And they're now going to feel like you're being controlling because you're trying to dictate the tone. And I understand how some people are like, well, but it came off harsh and it came off this. I understand that. But you have to get to a point where when you are asking somebody to open up, you can't police every emotion. You can't police everything that's said.
Right.
Sometimes it's going to come out and fly out raw. Sometimes it's going to come out and it's not going to sound right. Sometimes it's going to seem this way, but you got to take off your filters your filters of offense before you even start. They're going to, if you ask somebody to start talking about something that can be touchy, understand that that's going to, their raw emotions are going to come out. And if you want them to talk, worst thing you can't start doing is starting to make everything about you. Yeah, women, I'm coming here with y'all today because it's hard and I see it. And I've done it. Now let's keep it real. Y'all know I'm gonna tell you, I'm the first one. I've done it. The reality is that when you know better, you do better. You have to not always, when you want somebody to start talking to you, the first thing you can't say is you have a nice way you want them to put it. Like, I want you to make the beds up, but you gotta fold the sheets this way. You gotta do that. Wait, hold on. Now you're going from somebody who never made their bed up a day in their life, and now you want them to make it up like the military does in 5 minutes. And if they don't do it, they didn't try. They don't care about you, and they have no respect.
So, Paris, that metaphor that you just used. Perfect, right? So, like we said, this is a society thing that has been going on for God knows how long. For most men, if dad was present, dad was not that expressive. Just because the era dad would have come up in. Absolutely. And let's not even talk about dad's dad and the fathers before that and the fathers before that and so on and so forth. So you're talking about, I wish Jared was here. You're talking about intergenerational
trauma
been passed down of men not being expressive. So here we are in 2021 now. Thank God we made it through last year. Here we are in 2021 now, and there's a push for men to be expressive, but this is a new type of behavior for many of us. Yes. And so, you're talking about riding a bike emotionally. So as a result, these men are trying to figure out this new expressive type of way to communicate. They're not going to be great at it. And then plus, if they never knew how to make their bed, how are they going to know how to make it perfectly?
Come on.
So if they've never really been good at communicating, they've never known how to communicate, there's no way that they're going to be able to communicate exactly what it is they're feeling and exactly what it is they want to say perfectly immediately. It's going to be a give and take, a bit of a process that has to happen. Now, I will definitely, even still holding the men accountable, when that frustration comes in, as men, we have got to learn, we've got to start to put healthier things in our life in order to start letting that frustration out instead of letting that frustration out at the person that we want to communicate with.
Absolutely.
Because the same way that a man will shut down if he's not heard, if he's not listened to, we do have to learn better ways of how to communicate. But in those time periods when we can't, we have to have different coping skills. We got to have different things in our environment, our support network things we can do to start to offset some of this anger and this frustration, so we can take a step back, think about how we're approaching the situation, and then come back renewed to try again.
Yes. And all that's necessary. And listen, I'm all about holding men accountable. We've been talking about that, and I will forever talk about accountability. But in this moment, us realizing that for a non-communicator, for them to come and you want them to talk, first thing, ladies, drop the perfectionist. The way, drop the idea that what they're going to say it right, and that they're going to say it in totality. I mean, if they can't even start to tell you that they don't feel good today, what you don't feel good about? I've been working 24 hours today. You didn't do this, and then you start all of that.
He's not gonna say a word.
He's
done. He's done.
He gonna look at you with them blank eyes, and he gonna be thinking, now this ain't what. This is why I won't say nothing. She gonna do all this. She gonna do all this dramatics, and she don't really care what I gotta say. She really just want to be right. And so now I don't want to talk. And so that's when you get the shutdown. And whether or not you believe that they should do that, you should be like, well, they shouldn't shut down. They should just go through it because it's a hard conversation. And although that's what you feel like they should do, you have to open up. Like, it's the whole idea. Like if you try to, I love analogies. If I'm trying to rescue a cat that ran out, okay, I got cats. They run out the door. Okay, don't you run out, I'm mad. Okay, now I gotta chase you outside. When I'm trying to lure them in, I can't yell at the cat at the door. Get in here, because that cat's gonna be skittish. They're not gonna come in, they're gonna be outside, and I'm gonna be trying to get them forever. Well, what I have to do is in that moment come down and get calm and say, okay, let me in. Let them know it's safe. Come on in. And then when you get here, then maybe I can get you and to make sure you're okay or whatever, but I cannot try to lure you back in and become, combative. And so the same idea, no, men are not cats. I know y'all get, but I'm saying the idea is that, you want somebody to open up, you have to not go in harsh like that. So I love this conversation already. I'm going to try to get some of the comments. Thank y'all for engaging.
I just wanted to do the same thing. Patricia, you had Miss Johnson. Patricia, you had a good one too. If you can get me on the presentation to the meet.
Yes,
absolutely.
I put that one up because that's true. All of it, and I love it. Let's see. This is my brother. You have to look at it this way: men are cut off from being open and emotional at a very early age. Being chastised for being in touch with our feelings. It's a huge battle to have that balance, because we're afraid that when we open up, that now we are targets in arguments and with criticism. Wow. That's deep.
I appreciate you, Brother Johnson, for bringing that out there like that. Because even now, just him saying that, he took a chance.
Yes.
He took a chance putting that out there.
Yes.
And he's absolutely correct. It starts at very young ages. You see how young boys and young women are raised, as far as who's generally more coddled and who is told not to cry.
Come on.
Just being one of the earliest examples. I mean, you see it in almost every aspect of our society, but especially in the Black community.
Yes. Because I think too, because you have the problem, and this is a huge issue, where you have so many. I'm gonna just call a spade a spade. You got so many people that's homophobic.
Oh,
that they're
absolutely.
worried that their boy is gonna be gay some kind of way because he cried or because he showed emotions, that you almost want to beat it out of them. Like, oh, don't pick that doll up, Junior. You better not cry. You know, he's 3 years old. You in the corner talk about you better not cry. And it's like, for real? Y'all that worried? Y'all that worried that their person is that boy is gonna be that way? I see it a lot in the Black community, and therefore you take this counter approach. Oh, not my boy, so I'm gonna toughen him up. And it ain't just the man, girl. Women, don't do that, because I know y'all like, yeah, that's how the guys do. Nope, I see the women do it too.
Oh, it's definitely happens with single mothers, single fathers, two-parent households. It definitely happens across the board.
Absolutely, and we got to be much better with that, and getting to a point like, I told somebody, I said, let's retire the term "man up," because what the heck does it mean? This idea, and whenever people use it, they usually use it wrong, and when they use it, it's like they're saying it to a kid, or they're saying it to somebody when they're crying, and or they have every right to be emotional. They have every right to be releasing and opening up. And so we have to be so careful with our words. Cook Gary said this is good for parents with son. Absolutely.
Absolutely is.
Because we're raising these kids, right? And we have to be super careful. I have I don't know if I told you, I have an 18-year-old, well, he'll be 18 next month, my son Makai. I'm a single mom, but I have had a village around me. But I'll be honest, it's been times where I'm like, I want him to be tough enough because this world is hard. And it's not, and I look back at certain things, and I don't think I did that horrible with it, because I didn't want him to be too hard. So I did let him have sometimes. But I'll be honest, I'll give you one thing. It was a mouse one day. And he was like, oh, I'm scared. And I was like, now I was scared too. But I'm like, you the boy. You can't be scared.
Right.
So guess what I did in that moment? I said, how can I make him like, because I didn't want him to be, see, sometimes kids do mimic stuff. So I'm like, I didn't want him to be scared because I was scared. But I also wanted to allow him to, if he was scared, to not make him feel bad about it. So I don't know if I handled it right, but what I did was I said, okay, I actually had to swallow my pride and try to figure it out in that moment. And I was so scared, but for that moment I tried to, because I didn't want him to feel like he could not be afraid. Now, after that, then we did it together. And then afterwards I said, okay, now this is your job. Now, I don't know if I handled that right. Who knows if I handled it right? But I didn't want him to feel, and I know that that's just an example, but how many times do we tell them you can't cry when you fall and hit your knee? You can't cry. You know, when you fall and you're in the football and you hurt yourself, shake it off, man. Shake it off, it's good. And it's like, you know, that might seem small to y'all, but do that over and over again. You create an environment where they cannot be honest with you about physical, emotional, and mental distress.
Right. Right. Now that does not, of course, mean that you have to, I mean, there's a time to push and then there's a time to coddle. And it's just learning that balance. And no one gets it perfect 100% of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No one's going to get it 100%. Even just looking at the hoops you jumped through as you were describing just that situation with the mouse. Yeah. And you sit back thinking, did I mess him up? Did I do this wrong? Did I do this right? Like it can be stressful at times. Yeah. It definitely can be. It's realizing that line of when it's okay to push your son or to push your man, and then also recognizing when he's actually in distress. You know, if a child or a man that is, just say, doesn't want to do his homework that day, you know, just as a lighthearted example, that's a time when parents can push. Yeah. But when he comes home and he's discussing difficulties that he had at school on a social level, that's probably a time to have a conversation with him about it and open up that line of communication instead of just push. Yes. I saw someone say they're taught to fight back and to show emotion. And if you show emotion, you're labeled a crybaby. Told to be a man at 4 and 5 years old. I see that too often in too many of the families that I've seen, where you see mothers that are expecting their 6 and 7 year old to take on full-on grown man responsibilities. And sometimes in these instances, the father's not in the home. And so that young man becomes the man of the house when he could barely spell the word man himself. I hate that. I hate it. So we see it a lot. Well, but you know what? It's enforced. I hate it. It's enforced a lot of times in the household, especially with women who I've seen people. I always tell them, I say, did you make your son like your boyfriend? Or you like this idea, the man of the house, and he's 7 and 8. You know, they think it's so cute. And I'm like, you know, I remember when my son, I used to go to movies and stuff with him. I said, I'm taking him a movie day. And I remember it was funny because I never promoted that whole thing, the man in the house, but I remember men would walk up to me and say, and walk up to him and be like, hey, little man, you take care of your mama. You know, this, you know, you're the man of the house. And I used to be like, no, he is not. He's not the man of the house. And they used to be like, oh, dang, what are you talking about? And I'm like, it's not, you need to stop programming them. It's society too. It's society that, you know, men are doing it too. Because my daddy did it. My uncles did it. They told me to take care of Big Mama. They told me to do this. And while you're supposed to look out for everybody, you're growing up way sooner than you should, and you're not really
equipped with what you need, and you don't know what the position really entails. It's like taking a job that you're not qualified for. Somebody who's only worked at McDonald's all their life, and then all of a sudden somebody said, "Oh yeah, this is a job for a data analyst," and they put you in the position. Yeah, everybody, this is a great job. They got a promotion. Excuse me. But if they don't know what to do, they're not going to stay in that position long. They're going to fail at it. They're going to feel overwhelmed. They're going to be overburdened, and it's going to be a bad fit. And I think that's what ended up happening in these situations. Everybody's like, yeah, they stepped up. But did you realize that there's a such thing as, you know what I'm trying to say, when they stop emotionally growing, Lord, well, I can't think of the word.
What do you mean, like they get emotionally stunted?
Yes.
Their growth just stops. Their emotional growth stops. So sure, they're able to provide, they're able to go to work, they're able to take care and do those kind of things. But the second that something's wrong, you're going to get their default response, which for a majority of men is going to be they're either going to shut down or they're angry. It's one of the two. They're either going to get really angry out of nowhere at nothing, or they're just going to completely shut down. And at that point, things start falling through the cracks left and right. They're not completing their assignments. They're not doing the obligations that they're supposed to be stepping up to the plate to do. Yes. Things just start happening, and it's because that man is probably going through something and has probably zero clue how to open up or how to talk about it. A lot of the men that I see in my practice are this. I am the first person they've opened up to.
And you're necessary. And the bad part about it is there's not enough that are even willing to walk into your office. There's not enough. That whole even to get them there is amazing. But what does it take to get them there? And so that's why we're having these conversations, because fellas, I need y'all to understand that nobody expects you guys to know this. You were not taught this. Matter of fact, let's talk about it. Let me get close to the screen. None of us were taught how to handle our emotions correctly. If we want to be honest with us, most of us grew up in a survival environment. Most of us were like we didn't just have a silver spoon in our mouth. Most of us, we struggled. And most of us, let's be honest, if you're from the African descent, and you're here, we descendants of slavery, let's be honest, just that whole idea, that brings a form of PTSD to us that we not really want to talk about. We don't really want to be honest about what that did to our family structure, what is done to us individually. And so we are all really kind of struggling because it's not normal to be looked at as less than. It's not normal to have to work twice as hard and get it half as we talk about these things. We got to be strong, and this is Black History Month, and I'm all about us being strong. Sojourner Truth, the Harriet Tubmans, that's wonderful. But if you really think about it, that was a form of trauma, like ongoing trauma that we go through every day. And it's not normal. And we are taught to believe this is just okay. And so you got a kid that can shoot the school up and he had mental issues. But if you got a boy that's on the block and he shot somebody and now it's just he's a thug, he's an animal. Well, no, it's mental issues. It literally is the same thing, if not more embedded. And honestly, as a whole community, this is a real big issue, and we're not really equipped to talk about it. So men, don't feel bad when you don't know these things. Nobody expects you to know how to emote. Nobody expects you to wake up one day and that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because I feel like we can't say, man, open up, talk, be healthy. But then on the same level, don't produce the environment for them to do so. And we control that environment so much that they like, well, shoot, like I might as well be in jail. I can't talk to you. I thought I'm talking to my parole officer. Like I'm trying to just have a conversation. You policing the conversation so much. Come on, y'all. We have to make an environment that's conducive to them wanting to share. I'm sorry, I get passionate about stuff.
You're fine. Because piggybacking off of that, what ends up happening is then the man ends up creating a different environment outside the home where he opens up to share. So that's when he starts talking to more of his friends more than he'll talk to his woman. which has, we've all seen the memes.
Yeah.
They love their friends so much more than they love the woman. So, they might be, they'll say they might be gay or anything along those lines. And it's just because, no, he feels more comfortable talking to them because at least there's some actual dialogue and they feel they can actually talk and make mistakes as they're talking or make mistakes in their explanation. They can have the tonal changes, but it's still fine. Their message is still heard.
Yes.
Compared
that's what it's about, being heard.
Right. Not being heard at home. And that's where the hang up gets. That's where that's where the hang up comes.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'm gonna get through some of these comments. I get real passionate, y'all. I see y'all comments. Let me go through. Patricia said, "Women, we got to be quicker to hear and slower to speak." Absolutely, and it's still everybody. We all have to do that. That's a thing we need to learn. That's a skill that a thing you can work on. Everybody, we have to do better. I have to do better. We all do, right? I'm gonna get through some of these comments. I get real passionate, y'all.
Sorry about that. I clicked the link and it brought up the live. You keep going.
That person sounds good. It was me. Okay. Somebody said it's also about the stereotyping of our men. Yeah, that's another thing too. It's hard because there's so many stereotypes that's put on, especially Black men. I hate to say it. I know I have people of all different colors here,
true.
But let's be honest. They have a stereotype of already being angry, already being tough, mean, and so then this is this idea that they get it everywhere. Cherish is a teacher, and she works in the school, and she said it's taught in the school building too. And that's such a good thing to bring up, is that you're dealing with this not just at home, but you're dealing with this outside the house. And it starts as young as, like you said, 3, 4, 5. And if you're at school and they're targeting you and they're talking to you and they're not allowing you to emote and they're almost making it seem as though every time you say something, it's like you're vilified, that's going to affect them.
I mean, I love that Miss Cherish. I love that her being a teacher. My wife is also a teacher as well, and she sees it at the both high school and elementary school levels. Think about with a lot of parents, the first thing they generally want their kids, the first phase of when it comes to their children growing up, that they really want to hurry up and get to, is the phase when their children can talk. To when they can talk and they can understand, because now I know what's wrong with you, and now I can tell you something and you can get it. And generally from about that time, you see a difference between how the daughters are addressed, how the sons are addressed, what the daughters are told to do, what the sons are told to do, how the daughters are talked to, how the sons are talked to, from as early as that. And that just continues as they go into the school buildings. Because when you have kids that have probably dealt with that from 3 years old, 4 years old, so by the time they're in elementary school, it's already programmed.
Yeah.
So all the young boys are already programmed a certain way. All the young girls are programmed a certain way. And if either side decides to venture over to that other side, you have this. They're going to be vilified for it.
And that's why you even have, if anybody knows, that whole prison. I mean, the school to prison pipeline. It's a real thing. Go look it up. It's a real thing. Absolutely. I'm not trying to push no agendas here, but you look that stuff up. It's real. The word I was looking for earlier was arrested development. Yes, that's so all the time, right? People that literally stop growing emotionally at their last point of trauma. They can remember, and it happens so often. And I see so many people. I sometimes look at people and they going off, and in my head, I hate to do this, but I do it sometimes. I'm like, that's an angry 12-year-old. Like, I know he's 45, but I'm looking at it. I'm like, he's the way he's emotionally communicating. He has never been able to get past that point. And I see the pain, and he's trying to express himself, and he really doesn't know what to do. And I see that, and he's like, instead of me being upset, I see that's what it is. And it doesn't take the accountability away from him to be able to communicate better, but I can see it and call a thing, because when you know what it is, you understand it, and it's not, you can deal with it differently, right?
You're absolutely right. When you suddenly see a 35, 36 or older year old man and something just not go his way, or something just doesn't work out well for him, and he responds in a way that seems extremely immature, it doesn't mean that it has nothing to do with men mature differently than women and at different rates. And he doesn't know how to emote or express what it is that he's dealing with. And if he was in therapy, or if he had that good support network to talk to, it'd be able to be identified that there was probably a certain age where something happened to him that completely shut down his emotions. And he told himself from that day forward, okay, talk to the end. I'm never going to do that again. Cherish, I see you just said something about he cries and throws a tantrum because he's 5 and can't express exactly what is wrong, and he gets told he's doing too much. So he'll turn around and do that same thing 10 years from now. So now he'll be a 15-year-old throwing tantrums and a 25-year-old throwing tantrums. And that's exactly what people around him will more than likely keep telling him is he's doing too much. Instead of someone trying to listen to see, hey man, what's really going on with you?
Yeah. And it's so I see it so often. And like I said, like a lot of times we even talk about when the police are called for certain situations, and it's like that was maybe not the best method to go. If you understand what's happening, and I hate to say it too, they shut down so many of the mental health places, but this person's in full breakdown. They're full breakdown. And if somebody was able to look at it right and not just feel threatened, they'll understand this person's literally trying to communicate in a way that they're not used to. So guess what? All that stuff that's been pushed down for years and years and years, it popped out. And it's pressurized. And what do you think is going to happen when I've never really healthily been able to deal with this, and I pressed it down? And, I hear so many men say, oh, I don't have feelings. I don't have emotions. I stopped feeling a long time ago. And they wear it like a badge. And it's like, no, you have them. Now, if you choose to deposit them down inside of you and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to push that down and pretend like that doesn't exist, so be it. But it's there. And so you have to go ahead and deal with those things, because you're literally walking around wounded and you're going to pop off. And that's a lot of the anger too, because that's the reason they think they only have anger, is because I don't know how to healthily express it. And so now I'm disappointed, I'm hurt, I'm upset, or whatever it is. And then now I don't know what to do with it. And like you said, the physical manifestation of, it comes out to anger because that's all I've known. That's all I've seen. Right. Patricia had another comment. I'm sorry.
No problem. Go ahead.
I think we put our children in a box and close the lid. We don't allow them the freedom to be. Generally, we teach our children the way that our parents taught us or treated us. That's so good.
Patricia, I'll even take you a step further than that, because you are absolutely correct. A lot of times how we raise our kids and how we treat people is based upon how people treated us. I'll even take it a step further, especially in instances where it's a single mother or a single father. How they treat their kids is not only just how based upon how they were raised, but it's also based upon emotions that they already have toward the child's mother or father.
Come on, bring it
in. In instances where you have a single mother type of situation that has a son, a lot of times how that mother treats that son is dependent upon feelings that she has for the father.
Sheesh.
And vice versa. And it may not, and I don't mean intimate, emotional feelings along those lines. I mean, if there is a severe disdain or just disdain toward the father, if the son starts to act a certain way that reminds or triggers you to how that father acted, the son is going to start to catch some of that same vitriol that the father got.
Y'all, women, we got to do better, because at the end of the day, I see it all the time. I'm a single mom, and I'm not going to go into that, but let's just say my son's father is not in his life, and I'm not going to dog him or say anything bad about it. I never have to my son. I'm not going to do it to here. I don't get on here talking about on Father's Day. I don't get on there talking about it's my day. Don't do none of that.
Thank you for that, by the way. Thank you.
Sorry, y'all.
Grinds my gears.
We don't do that over here. We don't sit here and say that you're a father. No, I'm a woman. I give my flowers on Mother's Day. I don't need to be a father. I'm not his father. I can't be his father. I'll give those flowers to my dad and people around that support him. Women, we have to get healed so that we're not verbally abusing our children when we are frustrated with that man.
Very true.
Sorry. I gotta call a spade a spade. I see it too often. You know what I hear? Let me give y'all some things. She's like, y'all probably, I never do that. I've never done it. Let me help you out. Let me tell you how you did it before. You just like your daddy.
You act just like your daddy.
You ain't gonna be nothing just like your daddy because you mad. Have you ever said that? Ooh, you're clumsy. Oh man, you your daddy was he couldn't get it together either. You just like that. Whenever you do that, and even if you think you're being funny, you don't think that they catch all of that. You don't think that that's verbal abuse. You don't understand that you're hurting them. Let me go a step further. Let me help y'all out, ladies. Yes, I'm not coming for y'all. I'm just being real.
Yeah, because the inverse is also true. Like the inverse is true. We're talking about men right now, but yeah, the inverse is true. Men definitely have to be held to the same standard in regards to if you have issues with the child's mother, that stuff has to be addressed before you start to perpetuate that upon your daughter or upon your son.
Subconsciously. That's the bad part.
It's all subconscious. It's also conscious.
Well, I think some people know, but more, I'm be honest, because
that's fair. That's fair.
But there are some, I think it starts subconsciously. That anger, you're going to the target, and then don't let that person look like that. Oh my God, you look just like them. And I've heard horror stories about children that have been punished because of the other parent. We that's why we have to heal, y'all. That's why we have to get the help that we're doing. And then guess what? It's okay if it's happened. I don't want to vilify anybody. The good part about these whole conversations, if you've done it, like I tell y'all, things I've done, and all is not lost. It's not this idea that somebody's so broken and they need to be thrown away. It's no such thing. Okay, everything is redeemable. Okay,
right. It's never too late to be better. Right. It's never too late to be better. And also, the solution to all of this, as much as even me in my field and me being a licensed clinician, yes, I would love for more people to get into therapy. But a lot of these discussions have got to happen outside of the therapy space as well. These discussions have to start happening within friend groups and circles as we talk about these toxic environments that have been created that kind of prevent men from sharing. Some of these environments occur within the friend groups, within the circles. Like we said, they happen at home. So as great of an answer as therapy is, it also helps to start surrounding yourself with people, especially for my men here. We got to start surrounding ourselves with people that allow us to open up. For anyone here, if you try to the best way you can try to find out and tell is if you start opening up to somebody and it's not received. And when I say it's not received, you're shut down. You start opening up, even if it's just starting with, man, I done had a rough couple of days, or I'm having a rough time with my wife, or I'm having a rough time with my husband or my boyfriend or my girlfriend, and it's immediately shut down. That immediately tells you that is somebody that probably doesn't need to be in your inner circle. You don't have to get rid of them, but they probably don't need to be someone that you try to rely on for your emotional support. And when that happens, take that person out your circle, go ahead and put somebody else in your circle that's a little more open and a little more warm and inviting. Because one thing I've seen is when people have at least, we'll say 2 supportive friends that they can start to open up to, they can bounce ideas off of, they can really share some of this stuff with, their need for therapy decreases.
Come on. So basically what you're saying is if they have support and real support,
not I'll tell you what you want to hear, support, legitimate support of someone for example, if a homeboy comes to, if I go to a homeboy and I say, man, me and my wife are going through something, and his response is anything about, well, just be the alpha and you're the head of the household and do A, B, C, and D, I am not talking to you again, bro. Love you to death. We not talking about this no more.
So hold on. So let's put a pin in that, because that's what we get good here.
Sure.
How, as a man, do I know to leave that counsel, even though it's fortifying me in that moment of anger? All right? Because in that moment, he's saying everything I want to hear. You're right, man. I'm the alpha. You're right. She got to listen to me. She got to be submissive. This is what I need. This is what how are we? Hello, here's going to be a plug, a shameless plug. Y'all hear later. How are we emotionally courageous enough to go ahead and be able to say, you know what? As much as that's a feel good, that's a yes, man. And as much as I like that, I need what's that called? What's the not unbiased is what I'm trying to say, but I need a neutral point of view, somebody who's not just gonna always, have my side, somebody that's going to be objective. That's what I said, objective point of view. How as men, when you go to that friend group or whoever and you start to talk and they start pretty much defending you and saying, hey, you right all the time, you the man, blah, blah, blah. How do they know, or do they not know? Like, give me some thoughts.
No, I got you. I got you. Okay. So in regards to that, especially say you're in the thick of that emotional situation, excuse me, and someone's telling you exactly what you want to hear. How do you know you're asking, how do you know to detach and say, well, wait a minute, let me think about this and get an objective point of view?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So I'll put it in a broad perspective then.
Okay.
If this man, we'll use a man as an example. If this man has been with this woman for a while, his true friends support him in the choice that he made and the woman that he chose. So that means his true friends not only support him, they support his woman as well. So if he comes with a bad situation or a bad day, and the first thing that friend tells you is, well, the hell with her. Well, wait a minute. That's generally not a true friend. That's why I recommend more than just one person, because that one person might be going through something themselves and decide that, you know what, me and you, bro, both gonna just be like, the heck with them. Like, no, that's no. So you talk to that other person as well. And if and chances are both people are not gonna both just be like, hey, the heck with them. If so, you only got certain people in your group. And until you start to change your environment, you're gonna keep finding yourself in these situations. But generally, a true friend is going to want to see you happy. And if they've supported your happiness with this person for this long, for them to suddenly switch and say, well, just the heck with her, don't worry about it no more, just leave her. That's not really true friendship. That's just somebody that probably wants you to be as miserable as they might be in their own circle. And in those instances, when a person is so deep in a certain lifestyle, then I recommend they do end up having to go to counseling. And that's only because you need that objective person to start breaking down all the things that you've built up in your life so they can start building a better version of you. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that's it. Like, that's really good. Because some people say, well, I don't need therapy, I got friends. And I'm like, yeah, that's good. We need friends. We need good friends. But I'm bringing out the idea. Let's be honest. Come on. Can I pull it out the box? I'm going to say it. Y'all know I'm going to say it. Half of us don't really know what a good friend is. Let's talk about it. Okay?
Oh, absolutely.
We don't even know what a good friend is. And reality, you qualify your friends by if they say good things to you. Okay, they go along with what you're saying. So the reality is sometimes we need an objective point of view, because maybe we grew up in a dysfunctional family. Maybe we grew up with a toxic frame of mind. Maybe the things that we've seen and we've demonstrated and the way everybody around me does it, we think that's the way to do it, but it's not actually helping us. And so sometimes you need to go outside of your group and to see what is normal, what's healthy. I mean, I've done it. And I think sometimes you don't even realize that you are yourself performing toxic because everybody else around you is as well. You don't really know until you really kind of expand your wings. And most people sitting here talking about no new friends.
Oh man, it's comfortable. What you mean? It's comfortable in my echo chamber. That's what you're really sitting in.
My dysfunction. At least I know what this is. I know I'm gonna have a fight with Leroy once a month, and me and girl gonna get in it, and I'm gonna sleep on Leroy's couch one day. I'm gonna be okay, and she's gonna be all right. Now we haven't resolved anything. No. I'm just gonna get back in the house. Be back in the house, then we're gonna go back in our same old cycles, and we're gonna wonder why we're exhausted. We're gonna wonder why our relationships feel like they're shallow. We're gonna wonder why we don't feel heard. And so that's why sometimes, yeah, it's good to have those friends, but if you are not sure that you know how to pick them, and let's be clear, when you in it, you think all your friends is 100, right?
Correct.
Which is why everybody always feel hurt when they lose their first friend. Me and Leroy have been together for 20 years. I don't know how he would do that, but really, you really looked at the signs. Leroy being shiesty to everybody else in their own circle.
From jump.
That he double-crossed you? So maybe you're not paying attention. Maybe you're not seeing things right. And getting an objective point of view is nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be.
There's nothing wrong with it at all.
And I'm not disputing what you're saying. I'm not disputing you at all. I'm saying for those people who heard what you said and just changed it in their heads. This is what people do all the time. I call it, I can't say it and put that in my book one day, but I believe people hear one thing and then they hear it and it breaks it down in their brain a different way.
I call them interpreters.
Oh,
yeah, that's the interpreters. I heard that, but it doesn't fit what I want, so I interpreted it differently. It's kind of like it's kind of like looking at art. There's no correct way to interpret art. So people use that same logic to interpret things that people tell them that could better their life as well. It's, well, I heard that, but it doesn't really fit what I want to do or what I am doing. So I'm going to interpret it differently. And you can't tell me my interpretation is wrong because it's my interpretation.
Listen, I love that so much, but that's what happens. And so I just want to clear that up for those people who say, see, I don't have to go to therapy. Justin said that I just need 2 friends, but I'm here to tell you, your 2 friends might be toxic right along with you. And you still might need to go to somebody else because you don't have an objective point of view yet. You don't even know what the middle is yet. So you can't say, oh, I'm here. That's sometimes what it is we made ourselves the neutral point, or we have it together and then everything else is an extreme. Mm-hmm. Or what if you're sitting at the extreme end? You over at the extreme end and you don't see what normal is because you haven't been around normal your whole life.
Right.
Right. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Listen, we almost getting out of time, but this is such a good conversation. I just knew it was going to go on. I'm going to get some of the comments just so people know we seeing it. Let's see. You said something once. I'm going to end, Mama Pat. You said something. I'm in the whole live with it, but I'm also going to give another thing about you said. Labels cause our children to believe that the name you placed on their back is hard to shake once they have that badge of dishonor. I like the idea of that.
Patricia, I like that one as well. Not only is it just with what's placed on their back, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine if someone has been calling you whatever your label is from the time you were 5 years old, which Cherish, like you said, deemed the bad kid. So imagine if someone tells me I'm bad at 3, 4, 5, all the way up till I'm about 15 years old. At that point, I'm fully indoctrinated in it. I believe it. So not only is the outside world viewing me that way and treating me that way, but I actually believe it now at that point. So now I'm looking at how can I be the best bad person I can be. So
I'm manifesting it fully.
Yeah, your house, your car, none of that stuff's safe anymore because I'm the bad kid. I don't know how to express that I never really received love. People never really gave me the same opportunities as everyone else. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out on the world that I feel treated me bad. That's how you have some of the neighborhoods in Georgia where you have people that live in, $200,000 to $400,000 homes, and the kids act like they grew up in the hood.
Yep.
Why are they acting this way? Why are they behaving this way? Why are these young men doing this? Because they're not really being heard. They're not really being seen. They're not really being talked to.
Yep.
I've been in countless neighborhoods around Georgia that a lot of people would not go in. And I'm talking to 13, 14, 15-year-olds, and we're getting along great. And I'm one of the first people in their life that's actually heard them and not told them, hey, you have to do this.
Well, you know what? And it's funny you said that. My dad seemed to think, anybody knows me, I'm a daddy's girl. I think my dad's a superhero. One of the things he did I used to love is that when I was younger, we lived in the hood and the gangbangers would be on the corner. Mm-hmm. And all that stuff. He would never shrink back ever. He would square his shoulders. He had his kufi on. He would walk through and he would look him in his eye. Hey, young man. He have his tone.
Right.
How you doing? And he would speak to them, stop and talk to them. And everybody be like scurrying past them and scared and trying to get in the house. And my dad was like, the day I'm scared of them is the day I should die. Number one. And number two, he said that people are so scared of them. They're not recognizing them as humans.
Correct.
And they're not treating them as such.
Correct.
He said, the moment when you look them in the eye, they respect me because I've now respected and acknowledged them. And I understand basic survival needs. A lot of them literally have nobody that loves them. A lot of them literally are pushed out here because their options are few and they have not been modeled it hasn't been modeled in front of them correctly. And I used to see these hardcore thugs that would stop and listen to my dad and listen and talk to him. And I used to be like, whoa, like, but I saw first, like, if you allow them, you humanize them. If you go ahead and realize, like, if we stop running from them and realize they just have never been heard, they've never been addressed as regular people, they've never been, a lot of, like, shoot, let's go there. I know a lot of grown men that seem to be doing well in life. If you talk to them and you start talking about a father figure, they break down because they didn't have that. It's so prevalent that imagine, you know, what it looks like. You said you're talking to 13, 14, they deemed as bad and the rottenness of the society, but they're just acting out what you labeled them. And they were not heard and they don't know how to express. And so then you have people that it shows up at different levels. You know, the guy who looks like he have it together, that's a doctor, that's deemed successful, but he's a serial dater, he's a womanizer, and he has, you know, he's running through different people because he doesn't know how to properly and emotionally release these things.
Man don't know how to love. Simply put, no one ever taught him how to love. So he chased money. He chased companionship, temporary companionship, but as far as building an actual emotional, like, connection with somebody, doesn't know how.
Man, not all of that is true. This is so good. I really, we need to, Justin, I'm gonna have to have you come back for a part 2 because
just
it's
reach
so
back
good.
out to me. It's not a problem.
I absolutely do. A couple of other things we're gonna end it up with. Patricia said, imagine looking at the floor and finding the fragments of your life and not knowing how to put those back together. I thought that was good.
Yeah, that's way too many people as a whole deal with that. But especially as a man, we generally feel we can fix everything but ourselves. And so our goal is really just to not let stuff break, so that when things actually break, a lot of times we just want to evacuate because we're like, I don't really know how to put this together. And I feel like I've already messed up everything. So I should just leave.
Listen, that is so real. So at the end of the, like, I'm something else, Patricia said, she said, I just sometimes wish our men would feel comfortable enough to cry. That's a whole nother thing because that whole idea that they have that safe space to do it, that the idea that they, you know, are not going to be ridiculed for it. Because you could even be with somebody you love. And if you cry, I've heard people say, I know that punk ain't just cry like that. And I'm sitting here like, that's your whole husband.
Yep, it was.
No, and the bad part is, hold on. The bad part is, we ain't even going to get into that. We talk about abusive men. Can we talk about abusive women?
There's not enough time.
Not enough time today. We can't do that because men they don't feel they have enough. They don't have that, you know, outlet. They're not going to. And if they do, I heard a few people that tried to report it and the police laugh at them. Man, go take care of your household.
Right.
I know you ain't scared of her. And it's like you minimize the verbal, the emotional, the physical abuse. And why do you think men feel invisible? Why do you feel like they can't be honest about something that's happening an abusive way to them? So let's wrap this up. Y'all had some great comments. I'm going to have to reply to y'all comments in the, you know, as I get into the, when I go to the comments. But to wrap it up, women, let's do better. It's okay. It's okay. Women, we also did not know what to do. Okay. We also, a lot of us were single parents, or a lot of us did what Big Mama did. A lot of us, you know, got married young. You know, there are all these things that came into aspect, you know, into play. And don't beat yourself up about it. This is not a condemnation. This is saying,
definitely not.
Let's recognize what we're doing so we can start to be more aware of what we're doing and start to make changes. And guess what? Family therapy is good. Group therapy is good. Like he said, just having these conversations within your friend group. Conversations. Y'all want to play spades all the time. I think it's a demonic game, but whatever. It get too violent. Okay?
But you know what? If they're talking about it, if they're talking about these kind of things while playing spades or sitting at your local Chili's, Apple, whatever, whatever your environment may be, if you're having these conversations, good.
However you're doing it. That's what I'm saying. Whatever you need to do. The next family gathering, y'all sit down and have these talks. Because honestly, when you start talking, and even if you need to be a little bit more intimate, hey, sit down with your child, sit down with your spouse. Let it be okay, I'll give y'all a little help before we leave. One thing I did, and I don't proclaim to know it all, and I definitely don't have a perfect relationship with my son. Let's be clear. But one thing I did do that I was proud of is that I gave him this thing of, if you ever get any trouble, if anything ever goes wrong, you can call me, no questions asked. I will pick you up. I will not berate you. I will not punish you in that moment. I will listen to you. And I let him understand that in that moment, that's a non-judgment zone. I'm not mama in that moment. I am somebody to help you. Because if you don't allow them that safe space that nothing they can say is wrong, nothing. I don't care. Like, you really could have, I'm not going to say that, but you could do something really bad in that moment. Just call me. I never want him to feel like he can't call me. I just didn't. And we've had hard conversations. And when he talked to me, I used to be like, in my head, inside, I'm cringing at what he's saying because it's uncomfortable. But I didn't let him see it. And I let him go because I want him to be able to come to me, even when I'm uncomfortable. I want to not crush his expression, even when I feel like, oh, he's not respectful. I want him to be able to have a voice. And so sometimes you got to relinquish control in moments in order to allow the voice to come out. And then we can work on how you have your voice. But let it come out first. I don't proclaim to know it all, but that's just a little free game. Justin, do you have any words?
I definitely do. I think one of the best things to end on, the question that was asked, how do we remove the stigma so that men will go to therapy? And Paris, you definitely touched on this. Create this zone, even if it's just for the length of a conversation. Create this zone of a no judgment type of zone where it's just conversation. There's no right, no wrong. There's just conversation, and you're trying to gain understanding. Just let that be a regular occurrence, just as you all are talking. People got to remember that, it's if you want to be right, you have to be okay with making your partner feel like they're wrong, and just think about whatever comes with that. So in this type of zone, definitely start to just let the person talk. They may say some things you don't want to hear, but that's okay. Because in hearing them, you're gaining understanding about what that person thinks, what that person feels. And we didn't get to touch on this, so I'll just say it as a brief point. Mm-hmm. Throw away your expectations of what you think, how you think this person is supposed to act, how you think this person is supposed to feel, communicate. Get rid of expectations and get rid of the word should. Too many people use that word all the time. And every time you say that, you are putting your expectations on what you think a person is supposed to do. Put that aside and actually receive that person as they are, so you can start to understand how they operate, why they operate the way they do, how they communicate, all of those kind of things. But if you go into the relationship, you go into having a child thinking that this is what they're supposed to be and this is how they should be, you're already behind the 8 ball. You got to throw those expectations away and start receiving people as they are, so you can start to understand where they are.
That's dope, Justin. That's all real. We talk about that all the time. Silent expectations, or even like you said, you can verbalize them too. But who are you to put expectations on a relationship and how people should be? So this has been an amazing conversation. We can't even stop. I mean, so much to unpack. You have to come back again, Justin. We'll schedule it. I definitely know that everybody engaged. They were loving it. Anybody who's coming on right now, I saw a lot of y'all come on. I'm sorry I didn't say hi to you. I normally see your name come in, but we were just in this conversation. Thank you for coming on. Anybody who's just coming on now is over with. So catch the replay, okay? And y'all know this is a good conversation. So share. Let people know. I know they can benefit from this. It's going to be on, this is Facebook and YouTube. Listen, Justin, can you share how people can get in touch with you if they need to?
Honestly, you all, fastest way to get in touch with me, you could just look me up. The name is spelled Justen, Justin DeBowles. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, a little bit everywhere. And honestly, even my website is just JustinDeBowlesLPC.com. It's easy way to reach out to me, guys. I'm a bit of an open book. Just any questions, comments, anything, just reach out. Just reach out. I love communicating. Love talking.
You did great. I put it in the chat. In the comments. So if you guys want to look up how his name is spelled, it was very easy for me to find him on IG and Facebook. And like you said, his website is on there as well, so you can look at it. Check him out. If you're in the Georgia area and you know that you need to go ahead and talk with somebody, you see how easy going this is. Why not check him out? It's been great to have you on. Again, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. And y'all, I'm gonna get on out of here. Don't forget. In lieu of Men's Mental Health Month, I dropped some T-shirts for you guys today. I know you like what? Check them out. One of them is about emotional courage, and about y'all know how y'all men want to be strong and seem manly. Well, let's talk about having emotional courage, which is just the willingness to unpack this stuff. That's real strength. That's real strength, being able to say, you know what, this is hard, but I'm gonna own up and be able to start that. So that I have the shirts and the sweatshirts that just dropped today. Check out www.parispjohnson.com. And I also have one for Black History Month, is where I'm calling you all kings, because that's what you are. And you're going to start walking into it, because we're going to start calling them that. We're going to start manifesting and giving them good adjectives. They're kind, they're knowledgeable, they're generous, they're caring. Instead, and guess what? They start hearing that more than the negative stuff. Believe it or not, they'll start acting that way.
It'll start to stick, I promise.
It will start to stick. So y'all check it out. Y'all give these gifts to y'all man. Come on, it's still Valentine's Day last weekend. Y'all know y'all didn't get the man nothing. Go ahead and go get them a shirt or a sweatshirt or something so they can feel good and just take care of them. But thanks again, Justin. Y'all, love you guys. Have a great weekend. I will see you guys on Tuesday. We're gonna finish out the last week of the month.
Yes, bye. Yes, thank you for having me. You all take care.